This is my second attempt at recording sound on a different computer, so I'll leave the one as the original because that's history, and then I'll talk this one through and see if we can add the sound properly. What I'm talking about is that the Earth is going to flip upside down, primarily because the Earth has crossed into the northern hemisphere of the Milky Way galaxy, and in the southern hemisphere, north as we know it, was pointing towards the equator of the Milky Way galaxy. And of course, as we go across, everything changes upside down. So the tendency is for the Earth to flip upside down like the Moon did on the 11th of December in 2011, when we was filming the crossing over, and it actually lined up with the Mayan calendar, when the Mayan calendar was correct on the Mayan prediction, but the Catholic Church had added 11 days to the calendar in 1582, December the 4th. They decided to add 10 days because the sundial was out in the Temple of the Winds, and the next day became the 15th of October 1582. But the difference in time between 1 BC to 1 AD should have counted 365 days, and it didn't. So that would have been 375 days was out. So when you take the 21st of December in the year 2012, our Gregorian calendar, we have to roll it back the 375 days to December the 11th in 2011. Now we're coming up to December the 11th coming up, which will be a 2-year anniversary. So now I'll read through this quickly and then upload it. Hopefully we won't have a problem with the sound. Now the meek is going to inherit the Earth, and the reason for that is that all of the elite have spent $60 trillion in America, for example, and other parts of the world. So the reality is that they are all going underground. Now, because of we've witnessed a 40-degree tilt in the Earth, which we've reported then when we was in England, and it's happening again in Africa today, where we're on the Red Sea at Hagara, and the sunrise comes up, and we are about to flip upside down permanently when the comet comes past. And we see that as it's gone past this is what's going to happen. And of course, this is what Muhammad said. Now, there's a big difference between what Muhammad said and the Quran itself. The Quran predicts by Muhammad that the sun will rise in the west. And when that happens, the Earth basically has to be upside down. So we see that the Earth is going to flip completely upside down, and when this happens, there will be an enormous amount of pressure caused on the mantle, and it will flood up through, as it did in the ICEBALL came past Jupiter at a precise moment in time, August 23rd, 2013. Now, the 4 moons of Jupiter were discovered by Galileo on the 7th of January in 1610. And he's found that it took 1,000 days for the moons to make their orbits. That's what he had calculated out. And one of the interesting facts was that in the belt of Orion, he looked at and charted the various constellations and so forth. And in Orion M42, which was later discovered by the man he gave his telescope to. He was a French amateur astronomer, a lawyer. His name was Nicolas de Parsec. In November he discovered M42, which is a brilliant pink area of the belt of Orion, in the sheath of the sword of Orion. And then it went out again. So it flicks on and off, on and off. Now, if you know anything about physics, you cannot take an area that is 16 light years across, switch it on and off overnight. This is what's been happening. So, strange things in space indeed. So here's the picture of the, on the right, the actual eruption of this gigantic volcano when Io was exactly in the right position to be affected by the passing of the comet. It was 30 square kilometres, huge. Now on October the 1st, 2013, as the comet ICEBALL passed Mars, it caused a massive earthquake and left Mars glowing with a cone of tail, turning it into a comet. Now, if these aren't signs in space, I don't know what are, or the second coming of Jesus. So I'm telling you about it, and therefore you'd have to wake up, because Mars, again, as it orbits around the Sun, just happened to be in the right position for the effect of the gigantic comet coming past to turn it into, Mars itself, turn its atmosphere into a glowing orb, and they're saying it's become now, Mars has become a comet. Now there's some photographs here showing the how it was originally on the left. Now photographs here showing the how it was originally on the left, and now how it is on the right. So it's got October the 1st. So it's got October the 1st, just after the massive comet ICEBALL passed Mars. USA announced it was closing down. Well, I should say so. They're heading underground, and we now have telescopes that are out of business. And just as the last few hours, they've decided to put on a false show with all these astronomers all sitting around chatting, and all lovely people. Here's some photographs of Mars, taken with a small telescope. This is what they're seeing. If that's not a sign in space, I don't know what is. Remember, Mars had to be in the exact right position for this to occur. So there's the path of ICEBALL. This is what's on the internet that saying that it was one of the biggest eruptions they'd ever seen. So it was something spectacular. Actually, here's another from the internet saying, did you notice how the government shut down the same day ICEBALL passed Mars? There's another one saying the same thing. And then one of the NBC news people was saying, you better stock up on snacks, as a sarcastic remark on what's going to happen to the Earth. This is what it's all about. The Zionists, they're not Jews, they're pretend Jews. The true Jews are actually under bondage in Israel today, and because they're as innocent as in the other nations of people. But government that they have no control over, which is all dominated by the Rothschilds and Saudi Arabia, which are also Jewish. Now, comet was headed towards the sun. It passed Jupiter on the way in. There are 63 moons of Jupiter. It is 88,800 miles wide. The Jesus number, Greek gematria 888. The obvious staring you in the face. The numbers are all to do with the Creator, who, according to Muhammad, was born of the Virgin Mary because Jesus was the soul of Allah. Now, Allah in the Christian world is something nasty, but in actual fact all it means is God. Another way of saying Yahweh or Jehovah or Yahweh in the Hindi. And confirmed what I said when I walked the earth as Jesus. If you have seen the Father, you have seen me. The Father and I are one. So the reason Islam spread so quickly across the Middle East is because Muhammad wrote to the various kings and then sent his relatives to carry the messages and then received messages back. One in particular is from Ethiopia, and he, the king, became a Muslim on the spot when he realized that Jesus Christ was the actual person who God in the flesh. He said he fell to the floor worshipping Jesus. So the Church of Rome by then were murderers and consumed by the Jews. In fact, it was a small Jewish community that poisoned Muhammad and he died. His first wife was Khadija. When she died, Muhammad remarried Maria, a Coptic Christian. Now this is evident when you read what Muhammad had written to the monks on St. Catherine's on Mount Sinai, that if the Christians were set upon and in a battle, primarily from Rome, that the Muslims would fight for them. So any Muslim out there, if you haven't read what Muhammad said, you're not a Muslim. Now the line of Muhammad was via the daughter of Fatima, who married Ali, Muhammad's cousin. Now Muhammad had been raised by his uncle after his father died when he was just a boy of 8 years old. Now Ali, in fact, was his younger cousin and later became his son-in-law. So the actual lineage of Muhammad by his daughter and Ali was the legitimate line that Muhammad had decreed, yet soon after the evil of controlling masses at the time and this was cut off. So the Quran therefore is said to be the word of God by Muhammad, but like the Bible, the scholars and clergy bring their interpretations into the plot, writing on Muhammad's name. But what we have uploaded is really the account of why Muhammad believed. And what happened was Caiaphas, who was a high priest, who had agonized over his command to crucify myself, Jesus at the time, he had been scouring the prophet's scrolls, and he was desperate to find out whether or not he had, after the fact, crucified the Messiah, not realizing that the entire thing was set up to cause the crucifixion. Because what happens is the soul is in the blood, so here's the soul of Yahweh, the Father, in my blood. That's why I had to be born of a virgin, because the virgin was conceived by the Messiah's father, the Messiah being the baby, but in actual fact was the same blood, the same soul as the Father, because the Father, the creator of everything, cannot have a father. So Caiaphas wrote that there is no salvation for the Jews when he realized, after my physical death, my soul, my ghost, appeared to him in his quarters. He was with his wife and father-in-law, and then, as witnesses, he was so terrified that he felt that he wanted to sink through the floor as the soul of Jesus stood in the room. And this is God, in fact, standing before him. And this account was in a letter written to the Sanhedrin, and it is in Rome today. And 150 years ago, an American investigator was able to get hold of it and have priests in the Vatican translate it. Now, this letter was included in documents sent to Constantinople many years at the time prior to Muhammad's empire that spread and took over, forcing the Christians out, and he took over Constantinople. Now, there he read the letter, and he was then convinced of what had occurred. So the Quran is a combination of rubbish and truth. As we all know, the first casualty of religion is truth. So my experience in Egypt has been the Muslim people, you've got to be very careful. I'll rip you off at the first chance I get. Now, Muhammad wrote that the end of the world would come when the sun would rise in the west. Now, as I've said, we are now in the northern side of the Milky Way galaxy, and the tendency for the moon was to go upside down, and it is still rushing back and forwards, and it's out of position, way out of its orbit, and we are at least 40 to 50 degrees tilted, and so we are going to continue, and when the Earth settles down, it will be upside down. So you go to the south, it's the other way up. When you go to the north, it turns upside down. And it will stay there. It's just taken this amount of time for it to happen. But with the comet coming through, it will push the Earth, and then you'll have the sunrise to sunset, which at the moment is less than 90 degrees. So when we were in England, we had flown there after being in Rome to Edinburgh, where we purchased an old car and again got ripped off, and we had to repair it immediately. It was sold to us by MI5. Then we drove on to Glastonbury, then on to Folkestone near Dover. Now, north of Folkestone is a small town of Herne Bay, where we was able to calculate the axis of the Earth, that it was about 30 kilometres or so in the sea, around 51 degrees north. Very, very similar to the latitude of London, but in the sea. So there it is, where I've got waypoint 001. Go straight up from there, that's Herne Bay, and straight up from there, 30 kilometres or so, you've got the axis, as you can see down there, slightly above London's latitude. So we see then how the comet Ison has swept past the moon of Jupiter precisely. You've got to comprehend this, that Jupiter just has to be in the right position. With the moons itself, like the second hand, has to be in the exact right position with that particular moon, Io, which is a volcanic moon. To see it be affected by Ison and produce this gigantic comet. Rather gigantic eruption when the comet passed. Now, Io, here's the numbers, is the third largest moon. You can actually measure it. It's on the internet, and then look the numbers up, which I haven't bothered because I get sick and tired of doing it. The width and the mass and the diameter and the speed, etc. You can do all that. Now, there's 63 moons, so we have the book of Isaiah 63. So we have Jupiter, Jesus' number, at 88,800 miles wide. We have the third moon in size, which represents the third day. It's all synchronistic. And of course, coming to Egypt, this is the prophecy, Isaiah 19, being fulfilled when the great Saviour will come to Egypt. And while here, we started negotiations with the new Pope Francis. So we have the Western world being Sodom and Gomorrah, and we come to Egypt, and this is what the prophecy is all about, of Isaiah 63, and then combined with Isaiah 19, the great Saviour, which is Salvador Mundi, has come to Great Pyramid when I had to be there on the same date as my mother's birthday when she was 101 years old. Now, Mars is 4216 miles wide, and as I said, in the days of Noah, people were eating and drinking, giving in marriage, etc. So what's happened in space? We've had Mars do something very, very unusual. So in the Greek section of the concordance, James Strong's, look it up, 4216, is carried away with the flood. Matthew 24:38, for as the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. 4216.
740, done.
So it is the word carried away of the flood.
All done?
So ICEBALL continued towards the sun, unabated, and most amazing of all is the precision of the comet passing the sun officially at 8. This is done with a computer, by the way. There's not someone there measuring it. The computer spread out the numbers so they can't get out of it. So it's 8,888,008 kilometres. Now, that's the distance from the sun that the comet was as it passed in its perihelion. So the reality is the speed of it was travelling at, and the distance from the head of to the sun must have been a computer calculation. And to arrive at this distance measuring between two gas bodies is not a human operation. So as it approached, it passed through the 882 towards the 8888008, and it must have passed through 8,888,888.8888, which of course they're not going to talk about, for 1 nanosecond before reaching the 8888008, and then as it left, we were back to the 8888888 repeater number. So 8 means infinity, and of course this occurred at 1837 UTC London, November the 28th, 2013. So is it not reasonable that a man who is the most royal man alive, has 888 written all over me genetically, and has served the Queen to get her carcass off the throne June the 14th, 2010, she is acquiescent because she did not respond within the required 21 days of the legal document. So therefore she admits that Christ is back. Now her father, when she was a child, said that when Christ comes, hand over the throne. Well, she can't do that because she's surrounded by the likes of that monster, her husband, Prince Philip, and the entire system in England is where the Jews have managed to infiltrate in and taken over, and we have Lord Rothschild, for example, who is of the Mayer family, and he's no more Jewish than the Jews were that crucified me in the first place. They weren't Jews either, and I was not a Jew either. I was a Essene. So we have Pope Benedict on March 12, 2013, recognising myself as the name that is written in creation, and so mathematically perfect it defies calculation by an unbiased Craig supercomputer. The events concerning time is one thing, but moreover the billiard game which celestial objects are has thus far been demonstrated as a coincidental impossibility, yet it is so. There's no such thing as coincidence. So here we have the 28th of November. There's the distances. When we uploaded our original PowerPoint with the same numbers, that was, we were in room 522 of the Marriott Hotel. 552 of the Marriott Hotel. 5522, 752 is miles. So in kilometres it's 888.
You have to add the side, didn't you?
The following numbers I will do, not so as those who know now how to do it. I will not do them, but you can do them for yourself because I'm sick and tired of doing it. You can look them up. They confirm the coincidence, however, when we started uploading from our hotel room, as I said, we were in room 522, which is the number 40 measurements of everything in the Bible and the Great Pyramid, the cubit, the gamma, the mother measurements. Some years ago I warned Obama that if he and his family and the elite go underground, he and those with him will suffer a horrible death. Some of these facilities are very deep. This is the underground bunkers, they call them the dumps. Well, that's an acronym, of course it is very, very accurate. It's dumb and stupid. So they have organised this so they can scurry underground while we, on the top, the meat, get peppered with the effects of the passing of not only my son, but the approach of the 7 planets with what we now know as the NIBIRU, which is a dwarf sun. So they're both here. So they're underground, and above the world is going to be destroyed in their minds by raining down all over the world these asteroids. But what they have not calculated into the equation is that they attempted to change prophecy. The meek will inherit the earth. And where are the meek? Well, they're on the surface, aren't they? Not like hiding like rats underground. So let's look at the effect the comet will have on the earth.
Brilliant.
Now we have seen the odd situation of the perfection of our sun coming, past, and so forth. And then Mars, same thing. It is now left a glowing, burning, what appears to be a burning ember in space when it's glowing like a neon, being lit up. The gigantic electrical forces of the comet interacting with Mars has caused it to first push out a gigantic eruption of a volcano. And of course, we now have the Earth approaching 50 degrees off upright at 90 degrees between sunrise and sunset. So it's now 50 degrees where it was 90 degrees. So we've seen, and as I said, there's a 90 degrees movement from the rising of the sun to the setting of the sun. That is because the Earth is on its side and it's ready to flip and will remain upside down. South will be north. As I said, we was in Stonehenge. I'll show you that. The solar system crossed the equator with Milky Way galaxies, which we've uploaded and had the moon flip upside down. December 11, 2011, we had to come to set up on our apartment on the east coast of Australia at Harvey Bay. Now if you go and drain water down the sink, you'll see it goes backwards as it was before. If you was in the northern hemisphere, it turned clockwise. Now it goes counterclockwise because we're on the northern side of the Milky Way galaxy. In the southern hemisphere, it's the reverse of that. So as I say, what effect will the comet have on the molten mantle as it passes the Earth? Now if you look at a cross-section of a volcano, you see that the volcano is caused by pressure from the molten mantle being pushed up. And it'll burst through, and often in the sea, and form an island. And but basically it makes its way up through the least line of resistance. So what's going to happen is it'll come up, it'll seep along the tunnels that have been drilled all the way through, all across America. And the elite will be down there, and suddenly they're going to be hit with steam.
They've built natural damper.
That will cook them instantly.
They'll get cooked, and they'll stop all those forces coming up, and they'll spread sideways.
Magma will follow along the thousands of kilometres of tunnels.
Make it very
when the
stable.
engineers designed them, money was no object, and therefore tunnels are connected to small cities. A masterpiece, really, in
unless they
engineering.
come out and realise.
But what they did overlook was that the Earth is not stable, and they didn't realise that this comet coming in would pass this close to the Earth and cause it to push the interior of the Earth outwards and fill these up with molten material. Now, as there's thousands of kilometres of this, it's going to act as a damper. Instead of the earthquakes and volcanoes being pushed to the sky, when you'll have earthquakes, you'll feel them, but it won't be as dramatic as it would have been had these tunnels not been drilled. So they're going to take the vast amount of material being pushed up. That's what normally would happen. So if that line's to the right on the lower, where it says magma chamber, if those lines above that were the tunnels, what's going to happen? Instead of going straight up to form a volcano, it's going to flow along the tunnels where these elite are hiding. Rats. So imagine this size of drill that is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of kilometres throughout the world, but also, what we know about, but also they've drilled many of these throughout the United States. This is the heat, and it's 2200 degrees Celsius. This is what's going to happen. So this thing here has just been drawn out of a tunnel. You see how it's been pushed in with locomotives, and it's turned, and it's a beautiful machine. That's the consequence of it. So here it is, the U.S. Air Force. Now, what's the U.S. Air Force drilling tunnels for? Well, that's where the CIA controls the Pentagon, and that's where the money goes. They printed that well. That's what they've got to put up with. Now, here is just one area of this vast tunnel system. So imagine that this is thousands and thousands of them, and they're countless kilometers long. It's stretched across the United States in all directions, for example. And this won't be forming, will it? It'll be filling up these areas here. So these are these trucks that run underneath the surface, and they'd be running on propane, because propane is something you can use in mines that doesn't gas you. So imagine these lines that you can see here above this magma, trying to reach up and push in all directions. If they were tunnels, that's where the magma is going to run. Look at the cars here. This goes back to the 1950 era. It was like a 1950 Ford on the right hand side there, or some vehicle of that type. And this is how long. You see the round tunnel where they've been drilling. That's how long they've been doing it. These are some of the areas where the entrances to the tunnels are. There's many more than that. This is just roughly. Here's one photograph of an area where there's a car park on the right hand side, and you see the material burst up through the ground. There's a crowd of people back to the left in a bus, and this picture was taken just as this erupted. So these people in the front here would be all killed.
Horrible.
This is one of the maps of America showing the connections. It goes from Texas to northern Texas, and then across to what appears to be the area of Los Angeles area, San Diego, San Francisco, up to, looks like it's up to Washington, Seattle. Then it goes across the other direction, up past the Mississippi, and up to the northern areas, up to New York, and down to Florida. These are the forces they're playing with. They have no idea. It's hotter than hell. Forces are so great the magma pushes up mountains and then bursts through and along the path of least resistance, so therefore it's going to go along the tunnel. So as I said, the tunnels will fill with steam, and if you're down there, you're going to have a problem. You better get out. Now Yellowstone is predicted to explode, and it is 300 odd kilometers across, a gigantic, massive volcano. But with all these drilling, thanks to the United States' greed and stupidity, it's going to act as a damper to stop it. Deuteronomy 3:222. Now, I'm not in favour of Deuteronomy and all these things, but there are occasionally some things in it that gives you an idea that someone was inspired to write this. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn into the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountain. Foundations of the mountain. There is the distance out, as I said before, at the perihelion, and it's live information, you see. So I was quite horrified to come up with a number like 88888888. We have received a message from the Pope that he wants to talk to us. This is Pope Francis. Now, BP Earthwatch was able to capture just 4 frames. He's an amateur astronomer apparently, very clever man. And he noticed as he had these various cameras capturing a screen capture of the various satellite images, etc., telescopes, and he's seen just for the slightest moment 3 or 4 frames of what you see to the top left. So what he said was they're washing it out. So this is a live feed. So as the live feed, and he took this image that eliminates any lens flares, because some idiot said it was a lens flare. But it is one of the planets which we have photographed ourselves, and we've seen it down at Nehemiah Station in the Antarctica several times for a couple of years now, as it's been moving in towards the Earth. And all these things come from the southern hemisphere when we're on the south side of the Milky Way galaxy. So there's a close-up of it. Gigantic.
Going to stop that now. So what we're going to do now, I'm just saying to the people that we're going to now have to convert it. So we've used 3 computers to get this done. So,
everything changes upside down. So the tendency is for the Earth to flip upside down like the Moon did on the 11th of December in 2011, when we was filming the crossing over, and it actually lined up with the Mayan calendar, when the Mayan calendar was correct on the Mayan prediction, but the Catholic Church had added 11 days to the calendar in 1582, December the 4th. They decided to add 10 days because the sundial was out in the Temple of the Winds, and the next day became the 15th of October, 1582. But the difference in time between 1 BC to 1 AD should have counted 365 days, and it didn't. A 40-degree tilt in the Earth, which we've reported then when we was in England, and it's happening again in Africa today, where we're on the Red Sea at Hagara, and the sunrise comes up, and we are about to flip upside down permanently when the comet comes past, and we see that as it's gone past this is what's going to happen. And of course this is what Muhammad said. Now there's a big difference between what Muhammad said and the Quran itself. The Quran predicts by Muhammad that the sun will rise in the west, and when that happens, the Earth basically has to be upside down. So this is my second attempt at recording sound on a different computer. So I'll leave the one as the original because that's history, and then I'll talk this one through and see if we can add the sound properly. What I'm talking about is that the Earth is going to flip upside down, primarily because the Earth has crossed into the northern hemisphere of the Milky Way galaxy, and in the southern hemisphere, north as we know it, was pointing towards the equator of the Milky Way galaxy. And of course, as we go across, we see that the Earth is going to flip completely upside down, and when this happens, there will be an enormous amount of pressure caused on the mantle, and it will flood up through, as it did in the ICEBALL came past Jupiter at a precise moment in time, August 23rd, 2013. Now, the 4 moons of Jupiter were discovered by Galileo on the 7th of January in 1610, and he's found that it took 1,000 days for the moons to make their orbits. That's what he had calculated out. And so that would have been 375 days was out. So when you take the 21st of December in the year 2012, our Gregorian calendar, we have to roll it back the 375 days to December the 11th in 2011. Now we're coming up to December the 11th coming up, which will be a 2-year anniversary. So now I'll read through this quickly and then upload it. Hopefully we won't have a problem with the sound. Now the meek is going to inherit the earth, and the reason for that is that all of the elite have spent $60 trillion in America, for example, and other parts of the world. So the reality is that they are all going underground. Now, because of we've witnessed